Here are our 10 biggest questions after WandaVision's finale. The WandaVision finale is here at long last, and it laid countless fan theories to rest while also giving us some long-awaited answers about one of the weirdest entries in the Marvel Cinematic Universe to date. It also spawned some truly weird discourse about fan theories, which, folks, you should always take theories with a grain of salt. They are not a guarantee of what will happen, but they are a lot of fun to speculate about. Anyway, in our breakdown video on Friday, we explored in depth everything that happened in that episode, including Easter eggs, references, and both post-credit scenes. So if you haven't watched that video yet, go fix that right now. We also have a metric ton of additional WandaVision and MCU content just waiting for you on Nerdist.com, but today, we're going to be diving into the future as we look to the 10 biggest questions that we have following the WandaVision finale. Now, obviously, folks, in order to effectively talk about said questions, we do need to spoil what happened in the WandaVision finale, so if you haven't seen it yet, watch your back, because you never know what unexpected revelations could suddenly hit you. Alright, let's start with one of the biggest questions here. Where did White Vision go? After engaging in philosophical warfare with Wanda's vision, the White Vision gets his firmware updated from factory settings to include all of his missing memories. Then with 3 simple words, "I am Vision," he pieces out of Westview faster than Ralph Boner can run. So where did White Vision go?
I request elaboration.
Well, there are a few likely options, first of which his last known location, Wakanda, where perhaps Shuri can resume her research on Vision, and the Mind Stone that she first began during Infinity War before getting snapped. This version of the Vision does have all of his memories, but none of the emotional attachment, which echoes what happens in the West Coast Avengers storyline Vision Quest, on which this development is based. So maybe he'll even go back further and seek out someone like Tony Stark, only to have an awkward encounter with Pepper Potts and Happy Hogan because Tony's dead. Or maybe our answers could lie in the pages of Absolute Vision, a storyline from Avengers 254, but that, my friends, is a story for another video, so stay tuned. Now moving on to question number 2, what will happen to Agatha Harkness? After their Super Saiyan battle high above Westview, Wanda sentences Agatha to a fate worse than death, especially for a wily witch like herself. She will continue to live in Westview as Agnes, the nosy neighbor. But considering that Agnes has no ID or money or personal info, she's gonna have a rough go of things in this no longer hexified version of Westview. And with Wanda's attention increasingly devoted to studying the Darkhold's forbidden magic, who knows how long Agatha will be trapped inside this nightmare version of The Sims.
I'll be seeing you, Agnes.
Not if I see you first, hon.
And that brings us to question number 3. Why will Wanda need Agatha's help? Well, this could have just been Agatha pleading for mercy because she knows she's been well and truly beaten, but Agatha warned Wanda that she would need her help and that Wanda has no idea what she's unleashed. And the answer to this one is likely on the pages of the Darkhold, the Book of the Damned that Wanda is currently speed reading at the base of Mount Wundagore. In the comics, the Darkhold was a book full of dark magic written by the elder god Chthon, the source of Wanda's chaos magic, and it's also responsible for the creation of all manner of supernatural abominations like vampires. What up, Blade? Based on our theory in our finale breakdown video, we think that Wanda might be ultimately trying to access the multiverse. And why is that, you ask? Well, that brings us to question number 4. What happened to Billy and Tommy? Well, Wanda's superpowered twin boys are gone for good. Right? I mean, that's what the show would have us believe based on their sweet, sweet goodbye in their Westview bedroom. But then again, as we see in the post-credit scene, while Wanda is astrally projecting herself into her Scarlet Witch form to study the Darkhold, she hears Billy and Tommy's voices begging for help from some far-off place. And if you look closely at the Darkhold's pages, as well as the chaos magic surrounding Wanda in the post-credit scene, it kinda looks like it could be a map of the multiverse. While Wanda has clearly given up her perfect little life in Westview, she may not have given up hope of a happy ending in the larger multiverse because somewhere out there is a universe where her kids are alive and well. And it seems like Wanda could be hell-bent on finding it, but in doing so she could do even more damage to the fabric of the multiverse as we know it in the MCU, or perhaps invite a greater evil that would require the assistance of the Sorcerer Supreme, canonically weaker than Wanda though he may be. And speaking of post-credit scenes, let's talk about our question number 5. What happened between Monica Rambeau and Captain Marvel? In the mid-credit scene, a disguised Skrull agent reveals to Monica that a friend of her mother's wants to speak with her in outer space, and this is almost definitely Nick Fury, who we last saw on a Sword space station at the end of Spider-Man Far From Home.
Got my shoes!
But what exactly went down between Lieutenant Trouble and Captain Marvel to create this rift between them? Because there's clearly some bad blood there, as hinted at earlier in the series.
We are not talking about her, we are talking about Wanda.
Does Monica maybe blame Carol for her mother's death somehow? Is she angry that Carol wasn't there for her mom, Maria, when she was sick? For now, it remains one of our single biggest question marks of this entire series. And while we're on the subject of S.W.O.R.D., we come to question number 6. What is going to happen to S.W.O.R.D. in the wake of Hayward's catastrophic top-secret Project Cataract? Because not only did Hayward violate the Sokovia Accords by turning a deceased Avenger into a sentient weapon against his will, but he also kinda tried to murder Wanda, her kids, and Monica Rambeau in cold blood, like numerous times. Plus, he now lost $3 billion worth of vibranium. And while this isn't quite Hydra infiltrating S.H.I.E.L.D. level, plenty of S.W.O.R.D. agents were involved in his assault on Westview, so what happens to this organization from here? Well, our best guess is that it could either dissolve, which kind of feels unlikely and like a bit of a waste, or that Monica Rambeau will ultimately take charge of it, repurposing S.W.O.R.D. from building sentient weapons back to their initial mission of observing and responding to incursions from outer space. Besides, with an imminent secret invasion on the way, Earth is going to need all the extraterrestrial expertise it can get. That brings us to question number 7. What was S.W.O.R.D. building in that hangar anyway? Well, we know their biggest project was clearly turning the Vision's lifeless corpse into a corpse-like life, but S.W.O.R.D. has some major construction going on in their headquarters, especially for an organization that purportedly no longer has an active space program. So, did Hayward and company have other sentient weapons in the works? Well, we do have a theory all about Sentinels, which would make sense given the imminent appearance of the X-Men in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but I'll link to that in the description below if you'd like to know more. After that, we come to question number 8. Who is the FBI's missing person? Now, this storyline feels like it was either never intended to be resolved or it was a casualty of production shifting due to COVID-19. But considering without said missing person, we never would have escalated to the events of WandaVision in the first place, it kind of feels like an important detail to ignore. I mean, look, we had plenty of theories about who this missing person could have been, but for now, it feels like a question that will never get answered. Next up, we have question number 9. Did we actually meet that aerospace engineer? So after teasing it for multiple episodes, we finally met Monica's mysterious aerospace engineer in episode 7. Or did we? This character provided Monica with a S.W.O.R.D. space rover so that she could attempt to penetrate the Hex's barrier, and it wasn't Reed Richards, or Riri Williams, or Victor Von Doom, or any number of big-name characters like so many of us theorized. Rather, it was a seemingly brand new character named Major Goodner, and Major Goodner represents a contingent of S.W.O.R.D. agents that are still apparently loyal to Monica's dearly departed mother, Maria. But was this actually the aerospace engineer? Well, many fans are wondering if this too was an elaborate fake-out, but for now, I think that until proven otherwise, we have to accept that yes, it was. Major Goodner is as close as we're going to get to the truth, at least for quite some time. Last but not least, question number 10. Did the shrinking Hex wall affect Westview's citizens? Now, this is an interesting one because we saw how repeatedly passing through the Hex barrier altered Monica Rambeau's cellular structure and gave her superpowers, but what about the rest of Westview? I mean, at times it looked like Wanda simply dropped the walls of the Hex during the finale, but we also did see the wall slowly receding across Westview, turning the town back to normal. And considering the immense amount of power contained therein, and the fact that this is at least the second time they've been through the wall, could any of them perhaps develop latent abilities at some point in the future, maybe activating some sort of mutant gene in their DNA? Only time will tell. Anyway, folks, there you have it. Those are our biggest questions after the WandaVision finale.
Well, I think this line of questioning is fruitless.
That said, we will continue to break down all things WandaVision and MCU for you right here on Nerdist, especially with the Falcon and Bucky show just looming on the horizon. But in the meantime, tell us, what did you think of the finale? What questions do you have that we didn't ask here? Let us know in the comments below, and for the latest and greatest in the world of pop culture, stay tuned to Nerdist.com.